that other package that will allow us to convert our content to JSON data is the encoding/JSON package, which also is part of the standard library. With that imported, we can go down here into our save method, and there we can now get our JSON content, you could say, by calling JSON, so this JSON package we're importing, and then there the Marshall function, which might be a weird name, but in the end, that's a function that will convert data to JSON. Now, it does work with various kinds of data, for example, also with structs. So we can pass the struct as a whole to Marshall, and that will convert this to text in that JSON format, which is quite convenient. Now, Marshall also returns an error if that conversion goes wrong, so we should accept this here. And we then, of course, also should handle it. So here I'll check if error is not nil, and if that's the case, I want to return the error here. So I'll return so that this method doesn't continue executing, and we don't try writing to a file. And I'll return this error so that we can handle this error in the place where we then called this save method. Now, of course, in order to return an error here, we have to set up this return type and make it clear that save will return an error. Now with that, we're handling the error. We got the converted node now converted to this JSON text, and it's now this JSON text that should be stored in this file. Now, conveniently, this JSON text is actually already such a byte collection, and that's exactly what write file wants, and therefore we can pass it just like this to write file. Now, as a last step, we also need to define the file permissions, and here I'll use this permission set, which assigns read and edit permissions to the owner of the file and only read permissions to any other users that might get access to the file. And with that, we got the code for converting the node to JSON and writing it to a file. Now, of course, this save method now does return an error though, and at the moment I only return one here, but I return nothing if we write to a file, so we might want to return nil here, since everything worked, but actually writing to a file could fail, and write file therefore also returns an error, so it would be better if we simply return this write file operation, and therefore this error that's generated by write file. Because that will be nil if everything works, but it will be an error value if something goes wrong. And that's now therefore the finished save method. Now we can use that method in the main Go file. Here, after displaying the node, we can also call user node save, like this. Now, of course, this will give us an error, at least potentially, and error does already exist, so I don't want to create it here, just reassign it. And we therefore can check if error is not equal to nil, and if that's the case, I want to output a message to the user where I say saving the node failed, and I'll return and exit out of the program. If we make it past this if check, we know that everything worked, and therefore here we could output saving the node succeeded. And that should be it. That should be all the code that's needed here in this main function to save that node with that save method we worked on. And hence, now if we run this application and we choose a title and a content and hit enter, we should get saving the node succeeded. And we should now also have a learn go file in here. Though at the moment, this file lacks a file extension, and in addition, it lacks the content. By the way, it's named learn go because I chose learn go as a title, and due to how we set up this save method, we take that title, replace all whitespace with underscores. So this whitespace here was replaced with this underscore, and we then convert it all to lowercase. That's how this name was created. But as mentioned, this name is lacking a file extension, so we should change this, and what's worse, it's lacking the content. So we'll fix both in the next lecture.